Hello everyone, welcome to Ascot on a huge summer weekend ahead. The weather forecast is promising. The ground is going to be on the fast side. We have 8 superb Saturday races. Delighted to be joined, minus top hat this time, by John Blance. Maddy Playle, looking fantastic in the Fascinator. First of all, Maddy, big weekend. What's the one horse you're looking forward to seeing this weekend?
Huge weekend. Rebels Romance for me. We've got some very pretty flags on the table in front of us. I just think we're all big international racing fans, Graham, and this horse has been trotting his stuff all over the world. Great to see how that translates to Britain's big summer showpiece in the King George.
John Blance, King George runner or another?
Well, another Godolphin runner, Al Misbah in the first, beautifully related, very, very expensive, and one we're definitely looking forward to seeing running in that opening race.
Perfect segue into race 1 on Saturday. This is a valuable maiden race, 1,200 metres, not the number of runners we might have expected or anticipated, but let's go through them. John touched on number 1, Al Misbah for Godolphin and William Buick. Spectacular pedigree, hefty price tag. Back in Black has experience, and he caught the eye running really well at Yarmouth first time. Echelar is a horse who's bred to be good, but perhaps bred to be good over longer distances. Fire Flame, well-bred son of Wootton Bassett. And down at the bottom, Our Terms for Richard Hannon and Ryan Moore and a stable who've had a very good record in this race. We don't have a great deal to go on, guys. John, how would you approach this race on Saturday?
Well, $1.5 million guineas for Al Misbah, and of course a half-brother to Batash as well. So for those that don't know, haven't been watching the World Pool over the last few years, one of the preeminent 5-furlong sprinters here in Europe over the last decade, really. And, well, I've just got by Blue Point, $1.5 million guineas, half to Batash. Enough said, really, Graham. I think he's going to go very well.
But you, Maddy?
Yeah, John summed it up very well. I think on paper, he's incredibly eye-catching, Al Misbah. And Charlie Appleby, at the time of talking now, has had 7 winners from his last 10 runners. He's striking really hot at the moment. Not as many runners, perhaps, this year as we've seen in previous seasons, but he's being selective.
Intriguing that Al Misbah is by Blue Point. And Blue Point was the horse who beat Batash, not once, but twice in the Kingstown Stakes here. But I've got 2 other stats that are going to knock your socks off here. One of them, the Hannon stable, have won this race 7 times in the last, since 2011. So they've got a very good record. And the other interesting stat here is, in the last 13 years, this race has gone to a newcomer 10 times. Does that affect the way you'll think about this? And give me your numbers, John, if you will.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Our Terms is interesting, the Hannon runner, in the sense that it's gone over further already. Interesting they're going back in trip, but the smaller field probably help him be there or thereabouts. But yeah, I'm going to go with the one on top here. I mean, obviously, it's a bit of a stab in the dark. He wouldn't be the first very expensive horse to be not as good on the track as those that bought him expected him to be. But as Maddy touched on as well, we were sitting here a few weeks ago and bemoaning the Charlie Appleby form. He's completely turned that around now. So Al Misbah on top for me. The 7 in there for second, Our Terms. Then I got the 2 Back in Black, who did run well in that Yarmouth race behind quite a useful Godolphin horse. And the 4 Fire Flame for Roger Varian in for 4th.
Very similar from me, Graham. Would like to just jump on the back of what John was saying about Back in Black. James Fanshawe would not be known for his debutante prowess necessarily, and that was a really eye-catching run last time. He's going to take a big step forward, but I'm not sure that will be enough to beat Al Misbah. So it's 1 on top, Al Misbah, followed by 2 Back in Black, 4 Fire Flame, and 7 Our Terms.
Bit of a speculator, this opener, but I like the pedigree. I like the stable form. 1 Al Misbah on top, 2 Back in Black, and 7 and 4 as backup in race 1 on King George Day. Race 2 on King George Day at Ascot this Saturday is the Sodexo Live Princess Margaret Stake. It's a Group 3 race over 1,200 metres, 2-year-old fillies. And let's have a look at a few of the main contenders. Number 2, Aviation Time, ran really well here at the Royal Meeting, not so well in France last time. A few horses who made winning debuts. Definitive at Haydock, Handcuffed in the King and Queen's colours, pretty good at Newbury. Mandura, Emphatic at Newmarket. Simmering hasn't won a race yet, but her form at Royal Ascot reads extremely well. And last but not least, number 9, Tales of the Heart. Ross Orion rides for Rafe Beckett. We've got some pretty interesting horses here. Let's have a look at a bit of video evidence in the shape of Aviation Time, John. 2 starts back. She ran really well in a big field here at Royal Ascot over 5 furlongs.
Yeah, she did show plenty of speed as well, which is interesting now up in trip to the 6 furlongs. As you say, it was a bit of a blowout at Deauville on the soft ground subsequently. I'm willing to treat her sort of more pertinently on what she did here back at the Royal Meeting in the Windsor Castle. I'm slightly concerned about the trip. I think she'll blaze a trail. might be caught in the closing stages, but will be there or thereabouts for the numbers.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think she might just struggle a little this weekend. Let's move on to one who has a big chance. Simmering went to York with quite a reputation, ran well, was nicely backed in the Albany Stakes here. And under Jamie Spencer, she ran a terrific race. Maddy, take us through this Albany Stakes.
Yes, she did. Fairy Godmother was obviously the winner and did incredibly well to win out on the wing, faced traffic early on. But Simmering, she just ran really, really well, stayed on strongly and responded well to her jockey's urgings in the closing stages. For me, I think I might be wanting to take her on here, Graham. She hasn't got that all-important win to her name just yet. And I think there's some really exciting once-race fillies in here.
John, what do you make of Simmering? The form she showed here last time has been upheld. 3rd and 4th ran well in a Group 2 at Newmarket. The 5th has run well in a good race. And the 6th won a novice race emphatically at York. I think that Albany Stakes form is the benchmark piece of evidence here.
Well, it's interesting as well. Sacred Angel won this race last year, making all, but generally speaking, historically, you want to be mid-division or even a little bit further back. So Simmering is going to get a very similar sort of run to that which she got here last time. She did get a much easier run through than Fairy Godmother did, but even so, I still think she's going to take a lot of holding out here. There's not as much pace left in this race as there was at the 5-day stage, but I still think she'll get a nice setup.
Okay, Playle, you teased us. Some exciting, lightly raced horses. Which is the one to watch?
Handcuffed for me, a winner at Newbury over the 6 furlongs on her first start. She's a half-sister to Tactical, who won the Windsor Castle, of course, and then went on to win the July Stakes, a really speedy horse for the Royal Connections. I thought she just looked like she was such a work in progress at Newbury, but had all the raw ability in the world. I'm going to take a chance on her being better than Simmering, and I also think Mandura showed so much class on her debut at Newmarket. She can get involved too.
This Mandura was pretty emphatic at Newmarket. The second hasn't franked the form, but the Crispin stable have already got one really good juvenile filly, an Arabian Dusk. I quite like this one.
Yeah, and she bolted together 2 sub-11 sectionals in the closing stages of that race, so she's got to turn her foot, this filly, and she goes into the numbers for me. She's a clear second behind Simmering on top.
Give me those numbers, John.
Yeah, Simmering's going to go on top for me. Mandura in for second. Aviation Time, I'm going to suggest she can maybe stick around for third. Tales of the Heart, that run at Newmarket was pretty good as well. She won't be too far away. It's a pretty deep renewal of this race. It's a good contest.
Very interesting, isn't it? I'm going to hope there's going to be a royal winner with 5 handcuffed on top, followed by 6 Mandura, 8 Simmering, and 4 Definitive, another winner at Haydock last time.
I'm pushing these two to emphasise their best bets on the card today. I'll play my hand early here with Simmering. Pardon the pun. I think she's coming to the boil. I think a repetition of her Albany Stakes form might just be good enough here, and she could be capable of better. I fear number 6, Mandura, Tales of the Heart and Handcuff, but number 8, Simmering on top for me in the Princess Margaret. Welcome back to Ascot. Going to look at race 3 on Saturday. It's another Group 3 contest, this time for older fillies. It's on the round mile, pretty much 1,600 metres, and it's the Longines Valiant Stakes. Let's take a look at the runners and riders. Doom, very good performance here at Royal Ascot 4 or 5 weeks ago. Further down, number 4, Sirona, will be a fair price, but she's consistent, and on the numbers, she has a place chance. Thornbrook ran very well despite a slightly choppy run in this race 12 months ago, but the key horses might be down at the bottom here. Devoted Queen, impeccably bred, unbeaten. She missed a race at Royal Ascot, but she's here this weekend. Friendly Soul, she behaved appallingly at York last time, but prior to that, she looked really smart. And Soprano has high quality Royal Ascot form and ran very well, considering she wasn't well positioned at Sandown last time. Let's kick off with Soprano, John. She won a big time handicap from a mark of 100 here at Royal Ascot. I sense you're a little bit lukewarm.
Well, it's not that she did me a big favour that day when she won the Sandringham, but that was a roastingly hot gallop on the straight track that day, and obviously to handicap as well. She was giving weight away, but to some quite moderate fillies. If you look back through her form, she seems to do better on straight tracks with a strong gallop to aim at. This could get a little bit tactical. She'll be back in the run. Not saying she can't win, but there are others that I prefer who might just get better runs.
You keener on Soprano?
Slightly, yeah. I just think that Sandringham, it's a hard race to win. You know, all those unexposed fillies over the straight mile. And as you mentioned, Graham, it was a great run at Sandown last time from Soprano. I don't think there's a really clear standout in this race, so I think it would be foolish not to think she could be involved at the very least.
Yeah, I'm sure she's going to run well. It was very hard to come off the pace at Sandown on Coral Eclipse Day. She almost did it. Let's move on to Doom, who's a bit more exposed than one or two of these fillies. but she seemed to run just about a personal best here at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, in terms of the race dynamics, it was a sort of par effort. She got to the front, they came home 105% of average speed, so it was a bit of a sprint finish. She needed to be prominently positioned in that Duke of Cambridge Stakes. She's got gate 6 here. She might not get quite as good a run in transit. She'll probably go okay. Again, it's going to be quite a tactical race, which is not in the numbers for me.
Quick line from both on Thornbrook, who ran very well in this race last year, despite a slightly messy run. What do you make of her, Maddy?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Graham, ran in this race last year. Things probably didn't pan out perfectly for her, but coming over from Joseph O'Brien's stable, you'd imagine this has been the plan for quite some time. She's a filly with a lot of talent. Things don't always seem to drop right for her. Perhaps this will be more to her liking.
What do you make of Thornbrook this season, John? Just 2 runs, a bit better last time.
Yeah, pretty moderate form this year, but I think they've looked at this race for a while and thought we'll go back to her, we'll go back there with her. She's going to get gate 1 here. She's going to get a kind of run that she got last year, just off the speed. She was a little bit interfered with later on, as you were saying, in the race last year. I think she'll go well, though. If there's an each-way play in this race at the sort of prices you're getting at the moment, I think she's decent value.
Well, I'm a forgiving person, and as you both know, and you need to be forgiving to back Friendly Soul here. She looked really good when she beat Kalpana in the Pretty Polly, 1.25 at Newmarket. Kalpana's franked that form. It all went badly wrong at York. They tried to hold her up. She was going right the whole way and finished well beaten, but I thought she looked a filly with a real future at Newmarket.
Yeah, you have got to forgive that awful effort at York last time, though, Graham. I agree with you in that she has clearly a high level of ability. She's well bred and she represents some powerful connections. But for me, she just squeezes into my numbers. But you can't trust her at this level on her first run for quite a while now.
Sum this race up, John, please.
Well, I'd be happy about Friendly Soul on the straight track, and round the bend's going to be tricky. Devoted Queen for me on top, though. That run at Kempton 2 starts ago, she ran some sort of notable speech like late sectional. She was really coming on very strongly. Then a good run at York. She looked like she was going to be a good, at least a good thing to go well in the Coronation Stakes. Obviously didn't run in the end, so she goes on top for me. Thornbrook to repeat what she did last year and get a good place. Friendly Soul in for 3rd, and Sirona, who I know Maddy's got on top for 4th.
Yeah, not too dissimilar, Graham. Older fillies have won 5 of the last 10. 3-year-olds have won 5 of the last 10. So it's level pegging. I'm going to go with Sirona, number 4. That was a good run in Group 1 company in the Falmouth Stakes behind Portafinata last time. And I think Sirona's being underrated. She's ran at some fantastic races for David Menizio this season. She's on top, followed by 6, 8 and 7.
Tough audience, these two. To err is human, to forgive is divine. I'm going to forgive Friendly Soul that awful performance at York. I think she might roll forward here. She's a gorgeous looking filly, and I have to give her another chance. 7, 8, 6, 4. Friendly Soul, Soprano, Devoted Queen and Sirona in race 3 on Saturday. Race 4 on Saturday is a big time handicap. It is the Moet and Chandon Handicap International Stakes. 1,400 metres on the straightaway here at Ascot, and any number of possibilities. Runners and riders. Make Me King is in great form after his Newcastle win. Orazio went into hundreds of notebooks as usual with his fast finishing 3rd in the Wokingham. Northern Express seldom runs a bad race. Carry the One has been unlucky, stroke very unlucky on his last 2 runs. Bless him. They can't start an Ascot meeting without him on the grounds. Metal Merchant is a live outsider. Billy Joe, very solid form. More of him in a moment. Fresh, beaten a whisker in this race a couple of years ago. Alto has never been better than he is right now. New Image, Maddy Playle fancies that one. And Hickory went very close in this race last year. Any number of possibilities. Quick line on the draw over the years. Middle to high has been the place to be. Last year, it definitely was. But let's pick up a galloping clue from Royal Ascot in the shape of the Buckingham Palace Stakes. 4 or 5 horses to keep a close eye on here. Hard luck stories. Watch that horse on the rail. The white sleeves. Carry the One. He was desperately unlucky. Billy Joe ran his usual very solid race for 2nd. In behind, Northern Express. Every chance. Solid 5th. Divine Libra 6th. Fresh 7th. Make Me King 8th after making the running for a horse in the same colours. John, pick the bones out of this Buckingham Palace Stakes, please.
Well, all the horses you've listed there had advantageous high draws here. Billy Joe obviously made a pretty good use of it behind a very, very progressive winner of this race, I think it has to be said. Good news for Billy Joe fans, he's only gone up the £2 and he's got another high draw here. There's not going to be anything like the pace on you wouldn't have thought, although they'll still go pretty sharp here. But I still think that gate 15 will be something you can use to good effect. Carry the One, desperately unlucky, as you say, Graham. He's out the gate 6th, though, so that might be a little bit trickier. He's still in the numbers for me, but Billy Joe out of this lot, surely the one to side with.
Out of that bunch from the Buckingham Palace, Maddy, which one's for you?
Carry the one. It's got to be. I'm not too keen on the draw, but he's been so unlucky the last twice. Even last time in the Bunbury Cup behind Alto, didn't get any sort of run under Ryan Moore. Surely he'll land one of these big handicaps. Also think Divine Libra is warming to the task nicely, and wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of seasons he can bag a race like this. But neither of those are on top for me.
Another key galloping clue, Victoria Cup, same course, same distance. The winner, Wizard of Eye, is not here this weekend, but Bless Him, who came home strongly for third in the yellow colours, is back. We also have Hickory running well for fourth, Ropey Guest in fifth. Bless Him is a veteran now, but Maddy, I believe you still have a sneaking fancy for him?
Yeah, you can't not like this horse and respect what he's been able to do over this Ascot Straight course. And it was another really good run in the Bunbury Cup last time too. Didn't really get any sort of passage through. That's what you're talking about when you talk about Bless Him. You are a bit of a hostage to fortune. He's getting on a bit now. He's 10 years old. He's quite the old man, but he's clearly capable on his day, and he's still at an attractive mark. But there are more progressive horses I prefer.
Maybe Orazio is one of them. He has been a money muncher with 2 capital M's. He was favourite last year 6 times in a row, I think, including the Wokingham here, including the Stewards Cup at Goodwood and the Air Gold Cup, some of the biggest handicaps around. I thought he ran really well for third in the Wokingham. It's my strong feeling that those drawn really high forfeited a good track position by going out towards the centre, and from the rear he came storming home over 6.
He's always been a bit of a hold-up horse, but he was really quite markedly out of his ground in the early part of that race, which probably helped him in the end given the way the race all set up. So I think he's worth a try at this sort of trip now. He's not in my numbers. Gate 3's a little bit tricky, but it wouldn't be a great surprise to see him run well, if maybe not win.
Orazio, Maddy? Yes or no?
I just can't trust him, Graham, given his record. He was so eye-catching last time, but they fancied him on plenty of occasions. He just hasn't quite delivered. I'm sure he has it in him to win, but he's not for me.
We'll do the numbers in a moment. I'm going to make my case for a straightforward horse. Alto has been super consistent since he joined Ian Williams from France. And when you watch his Bunbury Cup win last time, he was a pretty dominant winner, and he just has a £3 penalty for that. So in his current form, he has to be a big player. John, sum up this big 7 furlong handicap.
Yeah, well, I've got Alto in there for second, Billy Joe on top, though, so that looks a pretty good cue. I think they've both got pretty good track position here. Carry the one, for all the reasons that Maddy explained, in there for third. And then there's a wonderful lineup of veterans here. Bless Him could well go well, gate 16. Ropey Guest on the speed, he might go quite well
Not
too.
again, John.
Well, no, but he's not in the numbers. He's not in the numbers. I'm going to go with Summergan, though, another good old favourite who's got a nice draw and should be able to get through in the latter stage. And he seems to be going better over 7 now than he used to over 6.
Yeah, no mention yet for New Image, my fancy number 15. I really like this horse. He might be my best bet of the day, Graham. Used to be with Ger Lyons, an incredibly well-bred horse, Juddmonte pedigree. It's been doing really well, has looked progressive since joining David O'Mara. We know he's a whiz at picking up these horses from other trainers and improving them. And watch back that run at York last time, third behind Tolstoy. Didn't get the clearest of runs, stormed home late. Everything suggested that he's up to another big performance here. He's on the right side of the track. I think he's going to be very hard to beat. So number 15 on top, followed by 14 Alto. Totally agree with your workings on that one. Followed by 5 Carry the One and 13 Fresh.
You have to take a view on the draw in these big straight course Ascot handicaps. To reiterate, last year's first 4 were drawn 24, 26, 18 and 20. Not as many runners this time, but I've gone for horses drawn 14, 12, 18 and 15. Their race card numbers are 14, 8, 13 and 9. Their names are Alto, Metal Merchant, back at 7 furlongs, Fresh and Billy Joe. All the best in by far the toughest punting puzzle this Saturday. Feature event this Saturday, one of the feature events of the entire British flat season, is race 5 this weekend. It's the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Kit Cole Stakes. It's a 1.5 miles. It's on the round course. It's demanding. It is one of the world's great middle distance races, and it has a field packed with interesting horses. Down the card, the mercurial but brilliant August Rodin, right back on point here, over 10 furlongs, 2,000 metres last time out. Dubai Honour, a globetrotter, up at a 1.5 miles recently and thriving for it. Goliath adds a bit of French flair to the mix. Hans Andersen looks the potential pacemaker. Luxembourg won't be too far away. He ran pretty well in this race last year. Middle Earth, I think the faster they go, the better for him. Rebels Romance, a true Godolphin globetrotter, a throwback to the days of Swain and Dale Army, who both won this race in the Godolphin Blue. Blue Stocking, a high-quality filly who gained a Group 1 success in Ireland last time, and Sunway, the sole 3-year-old in the mix after a very good second in the Irish Derby. Only one natural starting point here. He's the hot favourite at the moment. He's likely to be a hot favourite this weekend. It's number 1, August Rodan. And start with you, Maddy Playle. Let's pick him up in the Prince of Wales' Stakes, a hard-run race. And this was Gus on his A-game.
It was a 6 Group 1. He is a super talented horse on his day. But remember, this was back over the 10 furlongs. He was perfectly positioned in a trappy race on this occasion by Ryan Moore. I think he's going to get a totally different pace set up on Saturday, Graham. We know that Hans Andersen's the likely pacemaker in there. His stablemate Luxembourg's going to go forward. Rebel's Romance, my selection, also thrives under pace pressure. I think August Rodan's going to have to be ridden differently. He's going to have to do something different. And he's also going to have to do something he hasn't done in a long time, which is string more than 2 good runs together. That's not what he tends to do. So maybe it's time he blows out now.
I think that's a good point. John, are we prepared to forgive the Blobs? There have been 3 absolutely awful performances on August Rodan's record. It's unusual for a high-quality horse. Can you forgive him those Blobs?
Well, sort of, but he's a horse. If you're just a punter like me, you struggle to warm to him really because of that. Obviously, Coolmore love him. He's beautifully bred. He's a potential massive stallion for them for the next, decade. That's why they like to big him up as much as possible. A bit like Maddy, I thought, it was a good run last time. Don't get me wrong, he's got a great Group 1 record, but it was nicely set up for him. And I just think at the current prices, as you so eloquently put it, you've got the Ryan Moore tax to pay almost certainly on the Whirlpool as well. I don't think he's any great value at all.
At those prices, I think we have to look for potential chinks in the armour. And it's there in black and white. The 2 horses he beat, all out in the Prince of Wales, Zarakem and Horizon Dore, haven't got a Group 1 win between them. I know a horse who has plenty of Group 1s. That's Rebel's Romance. This was his latest. It's the Standard Chartered Champions and Chater Cup, over 1.5 miles in Hong Kong. The 2 horses he beat this day are not world-class horses, but he beats them emphatically. Maddy is very uncomplicated. He's a globetrotter. He's never really done it in a Group 1 in the UK, but he hasn't had chance to do so. He gets his chance this weekend.
He does. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how he gets on. And as you say, Graham, he's just a hard-knocking, brave, straightforward horse. So if there are any tactical elements to this race, I think he's going to be well placed to take advantage. The ratings actually have him officially on a par with August Rodan, and that's not considering August Rodan could blow out completely as he did in this race last year. So at the prices, for me, he's far more trustworthy, and as a gelding as well, that slightly makes him easier to understand over August Rodan.
Talk about the horses that these Group 1 winners beat. Go back 2 starts, Meydan, Shima Classic. The 4 horses who chased Rebel's Romance home were Shariar, Liberty Island, Justin Palace and Emily Upjohn, all rated 120 or higher, John.
And he was sent off 25-1 that day as well, Rebel's Romance. He did get a nice run round in that race, but the race I really liked was the Breeders' Cup Turf a couple of years ago. He was shunted back in a race where they went a really muddling gallop. He came 6 or 7 wide, unleashing terrific turn of foot. He's just the complete antithesis of August Rodan. He gets on a plane, he turns up, he wins big races, totally uncomplicated. However this race is run, I think he'll be winning it. Right,
we're behind the clock here. I need a quick line on 2 or 3 other main contenders. Maddy Bluestocking is a high-quality filly. Is she good enough this weekend?
I'm going to take a chance and say no. She's at her best. She's never been better, and that was an excellent performance beating Emily Upjohn last time. Plenty of chat about the tactics there. But there's others I'd rather mention. Middle Earth is one of those. He finished a very good 3rd in that Hardwick Stakes last time when he was seen. The stronger pace here, I think, is likely to suit him. I don't think we've seen the best of what he's capable of yet. Son of Roaring Lion, so he's clearly very important to Qatar Racing, those owners. I think he's going to take a really big step forward.
John, when I look at that Hardwick Stakes, the one horse from that race I wanted to see here is the winner, Isle of Jura. Yeah. What do you make of Middle Earth and Bluestocking?
Middle Earth has got a good turn of foot in him. Bluestocking up to the 1.5 miles again after that win at the Curragh. I think that should suit her. She's yet to actually win at the Trip. Mentioned for the 3-year-old as well, Sunway. It was a real muddling French derby. It's not an ideal classic, that race anymore. It seems to be a low drawn horses race. They didn't have much of a gallop. He was a long way behind. The Irish Derby is a much better reflection of his form, and a decent gallop here. Sunway with a 3-year-old allowance could go well.
It's a Group 1 in France last time for Dubai Honour. Globetrotter, big wins in Australia, honourable defeats in top races in Hong Kong, up to 1.5 miles, back to 1.5 miles recently, and he wins a solid Group 1 in decisive fashion. He'll turn up and run his race, but it's flag time, folks, because for once, We are rebels with a cause here. We're all with Rebels Romance. Fill in the gaps for the top 4 for the King George, please.
Yeah, Rebels Romance on top for me. Like I said before, he's a really top performer, and I think he's going to be tough to beat here. Augusta Rodan's got to go in for second, but will he turn up? He didn't last year. Sunway in for third, and Luxembourg. The Tour de France has just finished, Graham. Lots of team tactics there. Hans Andersen will lead this. Luxembourg will just be off the back of that speed, and obviously Augusta Rodan will be a little bit further back. Luxembourg ran a really good race in this last year when they went a really strong early gallop. Might not do that here. He'll stick around for a place as well.
I think we're all in agreement here, Graham. Number 7, Rebels Romance, he has to be on top for me. I like the 6, Middle Earth, to run a place. The 9, Sunway, I'm in agreement with John. And the 1, Auguste Rodin. Well, how's he going to go? No one knows.
I don't want to knock Gus, but I think he can run his best race here and still have his hands full. Rebels Romance will be a bigger price in the World Pool. He's the one for me. 7, 1, 8 and 6 in what should be a tremendous King George. Race 6 at Ascot this Saturday is the FlexJet Pat Eddery Stakes. Listed race for 2-year-olds, straight 1,400 metres. A shame we haven't got a decent sized field here. This was a tremendously deep race 12 months ago. Maybe there's a real good one in among this quintet. Let's have a look at them. Al Qudra has the runs on the board. Very good performance over 6 furlongs, 1,200 metres in the Coventry Stakes last time. Brian ran well at Royal Ascot and has won a race emphatically since. Chancellor is exciting. He bolted up at Doncaster. Dividend improved from race 1 to race 2, as did New Century. He was pretty good on his second start, winning emphatic. Let's start, I think, with Al Qudra. This is the horse with the best form. He's had the chance to show what he can do in good company, and only beaten a length or a length and a bit in the Coventry Stakes, John. Good run.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy Coventry Stakes to fathom, was it, with all those huge prices? But this one ran the kind of race you'd expect him to, and the kind of race you'd want him to run here. Obviously, the 5 runners here just makes it slightly trickier tactically. I'd be happy if there was more of a pace on. Charlie Appleby, though, has saddled 3 of the last 5 winners of this race. Obviously, Rosalien won it last year for the Hannon stable. Not too sure Al Qudra's that sort of level, but I think might be good enough to win here.
Yeah, I think whatever beats him might win this. How about Brian? At a respectful distance, he ran pretty well behind a real good one in the Chesham Stakes.
Yeah, that was behind the Filly Bedtime Story. He was third. An inexpensive purchase for Sylvester Kirk and Liam Canary, and well done to them. They've done fantastic with this horse by Shaman, so pretty unheralded sire. I think the horses in behind Bedtime Story, I'm not sure there were any great shakes there that day. Could have been flattered slightly. So I'm going to take a chance and take on the 2 proven horses, Al Qudra and Brian, with one of the lightly raced types. It's Chancellor for me. As you mentioned, Graham, last to first on his debut at Doncaster. He just looks so green. He's by Kingman. He's got a superb pedigree by being out of the Breeders' Cup winner Queen's Trust. She had a really good turn of foot. He showed that on his debut, despite overcoming those early signals of inexperience. He could be a star, and a star won this race last year in Rosalien, so it's worth watching.
Yeah, there are a few stars in behind that day as well, including Sunway. I was mightily impressed with Chancellor. His time was good, his closing splits were good, and he was doing all this despite it being his first day at school, John.
Yeah, he spread eagled him and he was going further clear at the line. So, yeah, he goes in second for me. But Al Qudra definitely on top. New Century as well, you've got to mention there's the Al Qudra form from Lingfield. Didn't get away very well on that occasion. Started much better at Donny last time. It was a pretty weak race that he won. This is tougher, but I think he'll go okay.
Only 5 runners, so absolutely zero excuse for not nailing the Quinella here. Nail away, John.
Al Qudra on top and Chancellor in for second, so that's the way I'll be going as far as that's concerned. New Century in for third, and Brian, interested to see how they ride him this time. Has been held up, has gone prominent as well. He goes in for fourth.
3 Chancellor on top for me, Graham, followed by 5 New Century, 2 Brian and 1 Al Qudra.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chancellor. He looked potentially something special first time. He'll have to be good to beat Al Qudra, but I'm going 3, 1, 5 and 2 on a budget. Chancellor. Time to break down race 7 on King George Day at Ascot. This is a valuable handicap. It's over a mile, 1,600 metres on the straight course, and an open market looks assured. Let's have a look at a few key players. Baradar hasn't been in brilliant form, but his Ascot form means he warrants respect. Silver Sword's been a bit disappointing recently, not sure why. El Najm, more of him in a moment. He looks a potential big improver. Bo Pedro usually comes there fast and late, often too late. Tempest won this race a couple of years ago, and he's back down to a pretty good mark. Sterling Knight just got the better of a really good finish with Tempest at Newmarket last time. Tolstoy has been writing some pretty impressive stories at York. 3 wins on the bounce there. Benatot is in good nick. Great Blasket has been a money spinner this season, and Obelix is running well too. You get the picture here. It is potentially open unless number 5, El Najm, is as good as he looked last time at Newcastle, Maddy, and he looked pretty good.
He looked awesome, Graham, didn't he? That was the first time after a gelding operation, came off a mark of 86. He blew that field apart. Obviously, this is going to be a different challenge here. He's facing different conditions, and he's up 10 pounds. And I think he could just be a potential group horse in the making here. William Haggas often does this with these young horses that he brings forward. I'm not taking any chances. I think he's on top for me. Speaking of others of interest, I really like Obelix. Jamie Spencer has been booked for the number 12 for Julie Camacho. This horse wearing a hood. He can be a tricky ride, and I think Jamie could suit him perfectly out the back. It was a good run last time, caught the eye running on late after some traffic problems. Could be a Jamie Spencer special on Obelix.
Strong El Najm, strong Hong Kong connection from the family of crack sprinter Lucky 9, Casper Founds, and he's heading in the right direction.
He is. It's important to stress, Maddy said he's gone up 10 ratings points, as we'd say in Hong Kong, but he's actually carrying 111 pounds with Sean Dillon Bowen, the claimer, riding on that occasion. He's carrying 134 here, so it's a load more weight in the saddle. Still think he'll go very well. He's going to be in there second for me. He's got a nice draw as well, gate 10.
Okay, let me take you through a couple of quick galloping clues. It's a little while since Baradar showed his very best form, but on this day 12 months ago, he was in excellent condition and he hit the front over a furlong out in the big 7 furlong handicap and battled on really willingly. On that evidence, he's a key player. Do bear in mind, his recent performances haven't been that flash. We move on to Bo Pedro, who has a habit of missing the break, getting behind, coming home strongly. This was the Balmoral handicap on Champions Day, softish ground last October, and once again he plugs on and plugs on willingly. And now I'm going to throw to John Blance for this day, not 1 but 2 years ago, this race when Tempest was really on a roll, and he was dominant with Bo Pedro among those in the backwash.
As you'd say, Graham, this form has got whiskers on it, but this was off a mark of 103 down to 96. Now, this race has a bit of a history of being quite tactical for a race on the straight track at Ascot, often quite a fast finishing time. Tempest was in the right place here, so maybe not a performance you get too excited about, but I did like his run at Newmarket the other day. He's had a bit of a dip in form after that win a couple of years ago, but he seems to be getting back to something like his best now. Gate 11, not a huge amount of pace in this race, so it might be a similar sort of setup to 2 years ago, so I think he'll go very well.
John, Tempest Fugit.
Tempest Fugit, indeed.
Give me your numbers, please.
Yeah, Tempest on top from El Najm in for second. Tolstoy, Brian Ellison seems to have improved this one, and Sean, who was finished 11th in the Royal Hunt Cup, for fourth.
Yeah, I think El Najm's going to be hard to beat, Graham. We could be talking about a very, very talented horse later on in the season. So number 5, the winner for me, followed by 12 Obelix, 9 Tolstoy, and 11 Great Blasket.
I'm putting El Najm on top, but only just. A horse who hasn't been mentioned, I think we should keep an eye on, is number 11, Great Blasket. He's won 5 handicaps already. He's a hold-up horse with a turn of foot that tends to translate really well to Ascot. So 5, 11, 12, and 9, El Najm and Great Blasket for a dead heat in race 7. Race 8, the final race on a terrific Saturday King George card at Ascot, is the Whispering Angel handicap. Blink and you'll miss it. 1,000 metres on the straight course. Some well-known grizzled sprint handicappers here. Let's start with number 1, Al Bashir. There's no doubt he's tricky, but he's got massive natural ability, and he ran really well over course and distance last time. 3, Woodhay Wonder is a 3-year-old. He's done great things for his connections this season, including a very good 4th in a red-hot handicap at Royal Ascot. Bod Sherman, 3rd and 4th in the last 2 runnings of this, comes back from a lengthy break. Pepsi Cat, really consistent. Woolhampton, not too far behind Al Bashir last time. Empress Spirit running really well at the moment, as is 2 Tribes. Couple at the bottom, slightly difficult to fancy. Let's start with a race over this course, this distance a couple of weeks ago. When we look at the video, you'll see that Al Bashir, as usual, held up, set plenty to do, weaving through, meets a bit of trouble, gets going a little bit too late. Woolhampton ran well in the same race, but I think both me and you, Maddy, both like the look of Al Bashir here.
Yeah, I think this race we're looking at now, it was a bit of a nightmare for Al Bashir. We see him in the blinkers, just didn't get a run, and when he did, he powered home under Hollydore to finish second to Fair Wind. That's a very good horse. He could be bound for Stewart Cups and the likes of that. This is an easier race, I think, for Al Bashir. It's tricky, it's tough, but I'm not sure there are as many good horses in it. He looks the obvious candidate to me.
He's not an easy ride, John, but when he looks good, he looks very good.
Yeah, he was a bit slowly away. That might have helped him because they went a ferocious gallop there. But as Maddy said, if you stopped the race at the furlong pole and said this horse finished second, it'd have been amazing because it was an incredible late dash. So I think he's going to go in there. He's got a good draw as well, gate 9.
Different type of horse, but equally likeable in his way with you, John. Woodhay Wonder has won a couple of good Newmarket handicaps, and in a race full of front runners last time, he ran a screamer.
He certainly did, and that's the key point here because the only other potential pace in this race, We Never Stop, has been taken out. So I think this one, Woodhay Wonder, who's really, really quick out the gates as well, is going to get a bit of a solo out in front for a while. There might be one or two that are reeling him in late, but I like him to stick around. And again, if you look back through previous runnings of this race, often horses on the speed have gone very well, so I do like him.
One last video to look at, just a quick look at last year's race in which Bond Chairman and Call Me Ginger both ran well for minor honours, but we haven't seen Bond Chairman for quite a long time, Maddy, and Call Me Ginger just hasn't been in great nick recently.
Yeah, Bond Chairman, he's ran some nice races at Ascot in his time, so he'd have to be involved in a minor line, and Call Me Ginger, he just hasn't produced his best in a long time now, can't be trusted.
Before we do the numbers, John, is there one other horse we should mention here that we haven't so far?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Wolverhampton, I think, was ridden a bit upside down last time. I think will go well if they hold him up as opposed to firing him forward like they did in that previous race a couple of weeks ago. But Bond Chairman has to be mentioned as well. 5 efforts in the frame in 5 very, very competitive races here over the years. Obviously, he hasn't run for a while, but if they've freshened him up back at Ascot, he could go well at a price.
Anyone we haven't mentioned that we should?
I will chuck in Pepsi Cat, a very likeable performer for Steph Hollinshead. A good runner in listed company last time, ran on strongly in the closing stages. And also Spangled Mac, the 2. Good effort on the all-weather recently and could trouble the protagonist.
John, I know we'll already have a bag full of winners by this point, but we need to finish off on a high. What's it going to be?
Well, I'm going to go with Woodhay Wonder to blast out and be difficult to reel in, and then Albashir in there for second. Hopefully Wolverhampton will be held up to finish in third, and you can't rule out Bond Chairman back at his beloved Ascot in for fourth.
Don't like this race, Graham. It's very, very tricky, but I am going to go with the old rogue, number 1, Albashir on top to defy a big weight. I hope you're with me on that, followed by 5, Pepsi Cat, 2, Spangled Mac, and 9, 2 Tribes. William Buick, interesting booking for him.
Yeah, he's been one of my cliff horses, Albashir. I'm going to the precipice again to swoop fast and late. Number 1, Albashir, ahead of 3, Woodhay Wonder, number 6, Wolverhampton, and number 7, Emperor Spirit. However you play King George Day, the very best of luck.